Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the SEL Virtual Meetup series. Our topic today is equipping students with essential SEL competencies for workforce success. And we have a really great group of guest speakers today that we're going to hear from. So I'm excited to really hear from everybody and have some good discussion on this. Just a few quick reminders for our comfort agreement. Just to make sure that we all feel comfortable in this space and that we're making the most efficient use of our time. Please remember to keep your phones and computers on mute. We do appreciate interaction through chat, surveys, and other activities. So feel free to communicate by putting questions or just conversation into the chat box. We are recording this session and it will be posted to the Department of Education's Social and Emotional Learning District and Building webpage. And just a reminder of if you are sharing any information connected to students, please refrain from using names or identifying information when sharing examples. We have a survey. We'd love to get feedback from the group. The survey link is in the chat box. So feel free to go ahead and fill out the survey now. We have a few minutes. But you can also continue to fill it out throughout this session. So we'll give you a few minutes to fill that out.
There's a question in the chat about where the survey is. If you go in the chat and you scroll all the way up, you'll see a link for it. It's before a lot of people entered the room. So if you keep scrolling up, you'll see a link to it.
I just posted.
If you still can't find it.
I just posted it in the chat again also. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Randy. All right, well, we can go ahead and move forward. As you guys are filling that out, we'd love to hear from you just about who's participating in these virtual meetups. It helps us to plan the meetups. And then we'd also like to hear from you about topics you would like to see in the future. This is our last social emotional learning virtual meetup for the school year. We're taking a break during June and July, but we will hopefully start up again with the new school year. So we'd love to hear from you as to what kind of information you're interested in. Thank you. I see you guys are in there filling out the survey. We have quite a few participants, some from high school, some representing all grade levels. Right now, we have teachers as our highest group participating, so thank you to all our teachers. We love hearing from you. All right, so as I said, you can continue to fill that out throughout the session. Even after the session, feel free to fill it out. The information is helpful for us as we're planning future events, so thank you so much. We'd like to start with a video talking about social and emotional learning skills and how they really last a lifetime and how they're connected to career readiness.
When I look back at all the important milestones in my life, I'm reminded of one that seemed small but made all the difference. It was the day my second grade teacher introduced us to social emotional learning. I learned about my emotions and what empathy is, how to talk through problems with my classmates, and how to make good decisions. It really helped me understand how to manage all the things on my mind, especially strong emotions. They were often the things crowding my brain, making it hard to think and focus. Sometimes all it took was a breath. And one, two, three, saying, I can do it. When I knew what to do with my emotions, it freed up space in my mind to learn. I became really good at it. I learned how to find my own path and solve all sorts of problems. My social emotional skills have always been there, backing me up. They helped me gain confidence to pursue the things I really wanted, like a spot on the soccer team, that A in biology. They taught me to listen and walk in other people's shoes. And that has unlocked so many doors in my life. 25 years later, I use my social emotional skills every day, especially with my patients. I know what you're feeling. I've been there. Take a deep breath. Social emotional learning. It makes all the difference. Find out more today.
It's a great video to remind us of how important these skills are and why we are teaching them in school, and why Ohio chose to adopt the K through 12 social and emotional learning standards. What I'm going to do now is turn it over to our experts in this topic when it comes to workforce readiness. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Washington to share the rest of the information for now.
All right, thank you all for joining us today. And actually, we're going to look at how the SEL competencies align with the Ohio Means Job Readiness Seal. So actually, Kristen and Kayla are going to speak to that alignment.
Thank you. And I'll go ahead and go first to kind of give some foundational understanding of the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal. The Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal is a formal designation that students can get on their transcripts and diplomas showing that they're proficient in the professional skills desired by both business and industry, as well as our post-secondary institutions. And this seal is also a part of the supporting options in option 1 of the long-term graduation requirements, and is one of the SEAL options of the many SEAL options students can achieve to show readiness. So I will now pass it on to speak to the alignment to SEL.
Great, thank you, Kayla. I'm just going to quickly talk about the alignment between our SEL competencies and standards and the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal. So there's obviously a lot of natural overlap and alignment, looking at those necessary skills for post-secondary success. So, we really thought it made sense to create a crosswalk between the SEAL rubric that lists those professional skills and the state's SEL competencies and standards. So this is in the process of being developed. And as we just heard, the SEAL is one pathway for students to graduation, and it really supports their entrance and development into the workforce. So the process is really looking at those 5 SEL competencies around responsible decision-making, relationship skills, self-awareness, social awareness, and self-management, and the individual high school level SEL standards, which are all very much future-oriented, and then aligning those to each of the professional skills listed in the SEAL. So just wanted to provide a few examples. So looking at the SEAL skill of digital technology, so a student really having that understanding of technology, how to leverage it to solve problems, complete tasks, accomplish goals. So there's some alignment there to something like relationship skills, being able to responsibly use social and digital media and understanding the potential impact that may have on post-secondary goals. Social awareness, being able to build community that respects human dignity and being able to do that virtually. Responsible decision-making, implementing a decision-making process to solve really complex situations. Another skill listed in the rubric around career management. So students being able to self-advocate, articulate their own strengths, the knowledge and the experiences that are relevant to success in their job or post-secondary education. So being able to have that self-awareness and being able to practice using personal strengths in pursuit of those goals. Responsible decision-making, again, around anticipating and planning for that transition into post-secondary life. And then also independently seeking reliable adult mentors in different settings. And then our last example I'll provide is around professionalism, that skill in the rubric. So students being able to demonstrate honesty, act appropriately, responsibly, learning from mistakes. So some really clear alignment to self-management, utilizing those strategies to regulate thoughts, emotions, behaviors in different contexts and different situations. Relationship skills, being able to apply constructive feedback to strengthen connections and achieve common goals. And then responsible decision-making, again, integrating that prior experience and knowledge of outcomes to inform future decisions. So those are just a few examples of that alignment, and we are still in the process of developing the crosswalk. So it's not yet ready to be shared with the field, but when it is, we will be sure to share it with all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. Next slide, Emily. And as Kristen mentioned, along with those alignments, as we can see on this next PowerPoint slide, focuses on the importance of SEL competency in corporate America. And as those skills, the alignment between the Ohio Means Job Readiness skills and the SEL competency, as we can see, the same skill set that were mentioned, those are the same skills that employers are asking and requiring that their employees are equipped with. So going back to self-awareness, the ability to be optimistic, creative, flexible, and being able to meet deadlines, self-management. Employers are seeking reliability with their employees, time management skills, hoping that employees are adaptable and self-disciplined. Next slide, please. Employees are also demanding that employees have social awareness. And as you can see, more employers are going towards working in a remote environment, which also increases the possibility of working in more of that global setting. So employees will have to be equipped with cultural competencies as well as being able to relate to others and respect those from varying backgrounds, being able to build relationships through teams, working with various individuals in a group setting, being able to effectively communicate, being able to listen, and going back to those responsible decision-making skills, being able to think critically, to solve problems, and also in an ethical manner. Next slide, please. And as you can see, the top skill that business leaders are looking for, 65% reference emotional intelligence, 64% mentioned social emotional skills. And those two terminology, social emotional skills and emotional intelligence, sometimes are used they're used basically relating to the same components that employers are looking for. And in this survey, 88% of the participants agreed that there's a critical need for social emotional skills with job applicants. Next slide, please. And as we can see, social emotional learning or emotional intelligence also affects an employee's bottom line. It also has a tremendous impact on one's earning potential. And as you can see in this survey that was taken, 58% of participants that were surveyed, it shows that 58% of their job performance is measured by their emotional intelligence or social emotional learning. So as we saw in that video, these skills are not just to equip students in the classroom, but it prepares them, as it mentioned, for a lifetime. Next slide, please. And there's a growing need to teach SEL competencies, as we can see in this was actually taken back in 2018, the survey, and it's trending to 2022, which is next year. And some of the skills mentioned, as you can see, is emotional intelligence. There's a growing need for employees to be prepared, not just with critical thinking skills, analytical skills, but also being able to have those interpersonal skills, responsible decision making, relationship building skills, and having social awareness and self-awareness as well. Next slide. And again, this survey that was taken also references the need to continue to teach SEL competencies and its impacts and ramifications. 87% that were surveyed mentioned that it has a tremendous impact at work and in life. Next slide, please. And according to this publication that was printed in Forbes magazine, this lists the skills that employers are looking for. They're often referred to as soft skills, but we know that these are more than soft skills. These are the critical skills that employees need to possess to be able to navigate the workforce. And in this article, they mentioned the need for social emotional intelligence. That was actually listed as number one. Along with creativity, digital literacy, working in a team setting, collaborating, and being able to negotiate. Next slide, please. And Kayla is going to tell us more about the Career Connections framework that embodies SEL competencies.
Thank you. Yes. So just some foundational information about our Career Connections framework. This framework is a planning tool for districts to really provide students with opportunities to develop a vision and realistic plan for their futures. And this framework aligns to many efforts around college and career readiness, including those very specific SEL competencies that we're speaking to today, that really support students in becoming productive and engaged citizens. So you can go past that one as well.
All right, thank you to Michelle, Kayla, and Kristen. Really good foundation for understanding the connection between social and emotional learning and career readiness and workforce success. What we're going to do now is turn it over to our guest speakers who are going to share their experiences with business advisory councils implementing SEL. So we're going to hear from Lawrence County Educational Service Center's Business Advisory Council, as well as Montgomery County Educational Service Center. First, we'll be hearing from Tommy Blankenship, who is the Director of Student Services with Lawrence County Educational Service Center. And I'll turn it over to you, Tommy.
Thank you, Michelle and Emily. I just want to say first and foremost just how thankful we are to be here today. I actually reached out to students, and I'm going to ask them to speak here in just a few minutes, because I really do want you to hear from them the things we talked last week, and the things that we have been told, through them and through this internship that they've been a part of this year, what things are working and what things haven't worked so well, and then some of the areas that they want to see themselves grow. They talk about the impact that this program has given them this year, and we're again very thankful to be able to present to you all today. We have students here that have been interns virtually this year, and with with the pandemic and all, they have been in person in school since August the 24th and through now. Some doing a hybrid, and some are fully in person. Yet our agencies and all haven't been opened 100%. At the same time, they have really been enlightened, and I'll let them share with you. But in the areas of emergency management, law enforcement, social services, real estate, health and life sciences, finance, public policy, legal, like our court judges and the prosecuting attorney, engineering, and education. And so again, very thankful to have them here with me. They'll do a much better job of telling you about how social and emotional learning has impacted them, and how they are also working toward that Ohio Means Jobs Readiness seal. So I'm going to ask Connor to speak first on behalf of us here today.
Good afternoon. I'm Connor Waller. I would like to discuss this program, the Civic Scholars Internship that we have in Lawrence County. I like to refer to this program as an avenue of success because it provides so many ways for the participants to succeed in life through the many skills that can be learned from the mentors in the program. I would like to specifically highlight a couple of our speakers and their advice that they have given to us through our several meetings that we've had this year. Our Ironton, Ohio's former mayor and Lawrence County's administrator, Katrina Keith, talked to us about never talking down to anyone, no matter what the situation is, which I find to be very important advice, especially in a setting, in a career, at school, and even in personal life, because that is the only way that you are going to be able to succeed and have good relationships. Additionally, she taught of the importance of trying, and even if you do not get where you want to go, it is not failure. And that is something that so many people need to pick up on these days. I myself have been someone who always wants to succeed, and so I understand this issue. But I was so glad to hear that, and it has helped me since then realize that if I try my best, that's the best I can do, and I should be proud of trying. Our county auditor, Paul David Knipp, told us that we should be honest and own our mistakes. Sure, we may be embarrassed, but the only way to go about a situation where you have made a mistake is to accept it, apologize, and move on. That's all you can do. And the very important advice that I believe that he shared with us was holding the older generations in high esteem, and that is where you are going to find the true wisdom in the community. And that when you have a problem, those are the people we need to be going to, even though these days we seem to just sit them off to the side and forget about them. Finally, our county commissioner, Deanna Holliday, spoke of the importance of self-confidence while also balancing your ego. Self-confidence is vital for anyone if they are to succeed in a career, in personal life, whatever it may be. But we also have to understand that our ego cannot become inflated. Overall, this program has an overarching ideal of leadership as service, that the leaders have to step back and let those with knowledge take command and understand that they are not there out for power to boss someone around, but rather they are there for their constituents, their community, whoever it may be. It is not about them, it is about what they can do for others. Finally, I would like to speak on what I have found to be the most positive aspect toward myself, and this would be the opportunity for relationship building in this program. The other students who are going to be speaking with me here today, I had no idea who these students were until I entered into this program. But now I have respect for these other students tremendously, and I'm happy that I've gotten to know them, and I hope that we can work together to bring positivity to our community in whatever way that may be. And finally, this program has helped me with my own future planning. I've always been one who's had a desire for public service, and recently, however, I've been kind of turned away from that as a result of the toxicity that is within the political system. But seeing the joy that these county officials who speak with us have when they serve their community has made me realize that that is what I want for myself. I want to be able to serve my community despite the negative things that may be thrown at me. And if I do get there someday and am serving in some sort of public office, I will definitely thank this program for that. Thank you, Tommy Blankenship, for asking me to be here today, and you can turn it over to the next participant in the program.
All right, Connor, thank you. Thank you so much. And we're ready for the next slide. I'm sorry. I did want to show the infographic that we used in this in the program, and how we had started out with 0 high school interns in our county offices and agencies. And I am telling you right now, just based on these 18 this year, I have people like, you know, knocking my door down, so to speak, wanting to have interns next year. So like I said, this opportunity is definitely growing here in Lawrence County, Ohio. Next, we have Tyson. Tyson, make sure you're unmuted. And I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and Tyson, we'll take you next. I have Meredith sitting right here by us. We have a storm here in Lawrence County, Ohio right now, and are undergoing some technical difficulties. I was on there with them a few minutes ago. So anyway, Meredith has actually come to my house here to speak to you all now. So next we're hearing from Meredith from Ironton.
Hello everyone, my name is Meredith and I'm from Ironton High School. And this program has really impacted me because before I felt like I was between many different career paths, whether it be law, medicine, engineering, just anything like that. And now I've kind of narrowed it further down into the medical path. And because of this program, I'm being able to make connections with people and being able to ask questions and speak to people. As far as academically speaking, talking to people, Dr. Ben Mack, our county coroner, really impacted me because I was able to ask him questions about medical school and continuing my education and how that could take me. And it really impacted me that he is a doctor and he does serve his patients, but he also serves the county that he lives in. And I think that's very important because a lot of people think that, yes, doctors do serve their patients and they serve their community, but he is also a public servant for everyone. And being able to balance that and still serve the community and give everything you have to the people of Lawrence County is very important to me. I also found Mike Patterson, Clerk of Courts, very interesting because he spoke about giving back to those who gave to you and the seniors in Lawrence County and serving them. And I think that's very important because there are so many people in life that build you up and get you to where you go. And I think that you should turn around and serve them once you get there. And it was just really important. And I also really enjoyed hearing Deanna Holiday, our county commissioner, speak about just serving people and just not being afraid of failure and just trying hard for your goals and having the ability to listen and learn to others because they may be speaking of things that you don't know and you may learn more from them than if you're just trying to do it completely on your own. And I think that this program is excellent and has really impacted me as a student in Lawrence County.
Thank you, Meredith. And next we have Gavin. And Gavin, if you and Tyson are there together, I know that you were at the school together. I'm hoping that you can speak first and then Tyson, or either way, whichever way is best for you all. Go ahead.
Gavin Haskins. I'll speak first.
Okay.
Tyson. Gavin Haskins. I'm a junior at Rock Hill High School, and the Civic Scholarship Program has really given me an insight to what the engineers in our area do. I've been really interested in civil engineering, and for this program, I've got to know a lot more about the county engineers, and we get to talk about what their day-to-day tasks are. And I also learned that one of their most expensive projects they deal with is actually road maintenance. Orange County, we actually have a lot of roadways, and they talked about there being millions of dollars being poured into the roads, just maintaining them and repaving them. But one of the speakers that really stood out to me was the previous mayor of Ironton, Katrina Keefe. She really helped provide insight on the difference between mistakes and failure. She said that mistakes are along the path road to success, and the only true failure there is doing nothing with your life. A lot of people confuse mistakes and failure, and it's just, you're supposed to learn from mistakes and keep going that they'll lead you to success. And I've learned socially and emotionally that you should treat others the way you want to be treated. You can't take things personally in business, and you have to separate your work and home life. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Tyson Lewis.
Thank you, Gavin. Hey, Tyson.
Nice.
This is Tyson. I had to speak off of Gavin's phone real quick.
That's okay. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to start off with me personally. I don't really know what career I'm going to go into. So this, I think, has helped a lot. And what avenues I think I'm going to choose. And overall, just speaking with people has helped a lot. And I think every person that we've talked to has stood as a mentor and how they share their life lessons and their experiences. I think it's all been very valuable overall. And I'm gonna go on like what Gavin and Connor said earlier about how making mistakes. I think a lot of people at my school get worked up over mistakes. Like saying I think I bombed his test, and I think my my GPA is gonna go down. I'm not gonna get the 4.0 anymore. But I think it's very important to talk to him about how it's just one mistake in life. That doesn't define you. You can always still go on what you want to do with your life. And I think this program's also given me a better understanding of all the offices and all the county functions overall that happen here. Many of them I didn't know exist, so now I know more about them and what they do, for example. And I want to talk about the commissioner, Deanna. She's been very want to say this, like, very interesting to listen from her, person in such a leadership position. I think it's been very valuable to talk to her, and it's especially since one thing I want to look into is possibly going some sort of politics and helping in that the state or county or whatever level I choose. So I think this overall it's been such a good experience and learned so much information that I can just use and apply to my life going on.
Thank you, Tyson. I appreciate that. And next we have, I should say last but not least, right? We have Bria from Sims Valley.
Hi everyone, my name is Bria Belville and I'm a junior at Sims Valley High School. I'm going to start off by talking about how I got involved with the program. I was actually quarantined from school, so I was on a Zoom meet and overheard the announcement advertising for this opportunity. And I made several emails and phone calls. And one thing that I asked was, when will this take place? And so we actually do these meetings during the school day from 9 to 11, a 2-hour time period. And anybody that knows me knows that I hate to miss class. So when I get these emails saying, here's your link for your 2-hour time period, it's not something that I'm disappointed about. I actually get excited because I know that during that time, it's going to be something that I'm not going to be able to learn from the classroom. I really think that this fellowship is vital. If we don't have leaders taking time to pour knowledge into us and guide us and direct us down our future path, then how can we expect my generation to be successful in the workforce or even in the personal lives? For me, this program isn't just about learning about jobs or which path to go down or even just the types of jobs that we have offered in Lawrence County through the government agencies. It's more about learning lifelong lessons and skills because those are something that we can apply no matter which field we take. Two aspects of this program that stuck out to me the most is primarily the quality of the mentors. I'm a part of another internship and Meredith is also a part of it. And her experience and my experience with it are very different. She's had much connection with her mentor and I've had very little. So the mentors that we have on this fellowship are very vocal and very willing to communicate with us and help us out and answer any questions that we have. And secondly, I will say the advice is a really positive part of this fellowship. I don't like every career necessarily that is speaking, but every speaker on here has something to offer us. Just like Connor mentioned, how we need to hold the elders to a higher standard because they have the most wisdom to impart with us. I think the same goes for this. Not everybody has the same interest in careers, but everybody has something to offer us as youth. It's definitely impacted my future. Every little bit of knowledge that I get every time I attend a meeting is helping me narrow down my education path and my college choices and the career that I want to go into. As far as social and emotional learning, I would say our coroner, Ben Mack, has displayed this the best. He showed a lot of self-management and advised all of the interns and even the speakers on there to write down your goals and priorities and then line up how much time you have to commit to that goal and how much money you have to commit to that goal. And through that, he wanted us to see if it was really worth it or if it was reasonable so that we can make the most out of what we're doing in life. In my book, I would say that no advice received will overpower mentorship received. So I'm really excited to continue this program and see the progression of it into the fall. And I would like to thank you all for your time.
Mm-hmm. Priya, thank you so much. And we're ready for the next slide, our last slide. I just wanted to thank you so much. I wanted to talk about, how the students here have definitely decided as we've talked throughout the year, how important it is to continue not only to grow cognitively, but to grow socially and emotionally, and that marriage that takes place is so very impactful and inspiring. Things that I've seen them do this past year. It has definitely increased oral communication. I've noticed since the beginning the first time that we actually met virtually. But their written communication skills were wonderful to start with, but even through the prompts that we have before each of our mentoring sessions, the prompts, I feel like that they've definitely increased throughout the times that we've been together. Vulnerability, when I say vulnerability is increased, you know, one of the things that we're talking about here is the importance of relationship skills in the workplace. And one of the things that you know that we notice sometimes in the political realm, let's just say, is that perhaps someone isn't willing to share vulnerability or to show empathy. And you know, we're seeing that role model now, right now, you know, with President Biden, but also here locally, we're seeing empathy being brought to the forefront. And how can we empathize with someone unless they are willing to be vulnerable? And so the students are seeing people like Katrina Keith and Paul David Nip and Deanna Holiday, and people that are saying, you know, I'm willing to talk to you about the disappointment of not winning an election, you know, of whenever I made that mistake of you know, saying, hey, you know, we may not be able to fund this particular program, but at the same time, I wanted to be honest. So it wasn't a failure, but you know, things like that they've learned from people that are just openly vulnerable with them this year. It was truly amazing for me, a seasoned educator, to see this. We are increasing the length of time that the interns are in the program. That was something that we learned this year. It's not long enough. We were going to do it for 6 months only, and now it's going to be a year. And by the way, these are 11th and 12th graders that are talking to you today. I am just truly blown away by their ability to communicate, like I said, within this group and also with you all here today. You know, it can be intimidating, and they truly, I wanted them to talk from what they had learned. And I told them, I said, unscripted, just be totally, you know, forthright with what you've learned and what we can do better. We are continuing to embed social and emotional learning in this program and use data in our community meetings and on social media to show the strengths that have been garnered, and also not only that, but like I said, the grows and the glows, and being very forthright in talking about that. And then our high means jobs, the readiness seal. We're talking about the 3 Ps, the possibilities that we have here in Lawrence County, Ohio now, not the improbables, but the possibles, and how they have gained in perspective this year and in personal knowledge. Again, I'm very proud of the young people from our county, and I don't know if you have any questions or anything that you want to, or suggestions or anything that you want to share with us here today, but we are willing to listen now. And thank you again.
So I'm not sure if Emily's unable to unmute herself, but we're happy to also have Shannon Cox. She's the superintendent of Montgomery County ESC. So I'll let Shannon go ahead.
Great, thank you, Michelle. And hopefully Emily can at least hear us, because I think she's got control of the slides. But I am Shannon Cox. I'm the superintendent of Montgomery County ESC, and I am so happy to be here with you. I heard we have lots of teachers on the line, so I just want to say Happy Teacher Appreciation Week, because you all have been through what, a year or 2 years, because there was no stop. It was just one continuous year. So thank you for all the work that you continue to do. And thanks for having me today. So I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Our Business Advisory Council actually is made up of 23 different school districts in 2 different counties, and we encompass over 77,000 students. Our 23 different districts actually participate at one of 3 levels in our Business Advisory Council. We have engaged, mobilized, and invested as our 3 levels of participation. But I think it's important to start with, next slide if you could, that here in Montgomery County, our big goal is that 60% of our working age population have some sort of recognized industry credential, 2 or 4 year degree, some sort of post-secondary attainment. And we'd like to do that by the year of 2025. So we had a whole lot of work already in pieces kind of moving about, but our Business Advisory Council and those 23 different school districts really have helped streamline the work and align it so that it makes sense between industry, higher ed, industry partners, as well as our K-12 sector. But as we were doing this work by looking at high school graduation, enrollment rates, as well as attainment rates over a 6-year period, we started to see the needle moving overall, kind of in this big macular way. But what we didn't see is the growth in attainment and needles moving in the micromanaged way that we really need it to in the subgroup population. So as we started to disaggregate our data and really see where the problems were arising or where our biggest gaps were, we knew that we had to view this work through an equity lens, but that meant for us that we had to use our social emotional learning competencies. So here's what we've kind of embraced. Talent is everywhere. Ohio is one of the least transient states in the nation, meaning our people stay here. And when we look at Montgomery County data, it's true for Montgomery County population as well. So our future workforce are our students today. So talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't. If you can go to the next slide. When we embrace those 5 SEL components that everyone is very familiar with through CASEL's competencies, and that's what Ohio has taken their learning standards from, their social emotional standards from, we decided that we're gonna add a different one. We're gonna add another one. We call it future self. And it's the ability to envision yourself in a positive future aspect, regardless of your circumstances. And one of the things that we really push hard, it is beyond what do you want to be when you grow up? Like that question works for some, but we actually ask the question, what can you envision your future to look like? What kind of house do you want? What does your neighborhood look like? What car would you like to drive? What does your family structure look like? And what we have realized is that a lot of kids, kindergarten through 12th grade, cannot answer that question. So go ahead and go to the next slide. As we embrace those SEL competencies, we knew that a lot of our actual employers through the Business Advisory Council, when we said social emotional learning, they said, you mean that fluffy stuff, that stuff that you do to make people feel good. And we said, well, sort of that, yes, but we had to start with some data, right? So we, again, tagged our friends at CASEL to say, can we please have some compelling national evidence on why SEL works? And as we dug into this, the science links to SEL student gains, that's huge, right, for everybody on the K-12 side, but it's the adult benefits that really sold it to our employers and our industry partners. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So RBAC joined the JFF, that's Jobs for the Future, they're out of Harvard, and we joined the Pathways to Prosperity Network. And one of the first things we did within our Business Advisory Council is we started taking those industry sectors already defined by local employment or labor statistics. And we said, we need to ensure that these industries really can actually say, these are the competencies that we want our future employees to have. And then we will build backwards into the curriculum, into our middle school and high school coursework that we've begun to offer as well. So this is just an example of the healthcare technical competencies, but when you actually take the time to look through what students can do, you will see natural connections to the SEL competencies, including having a future self vision. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We are really like unapologetic when it comes to building an infrastructure. It is not just about singular isolated programs or this course you can take in middle school. It is literally about kindergarten through 12th grade. And this really was a push started by those career connections that Michelle showed the framework and Kayla showed the framework to earlier in today's session. But building this infrastructure that allows, again, students to really know what their opportunities are, since talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And then really investing themselves in what they can do, what their opportunities could be in life after high school. And so one of the things we have employed over about half, actually 52% of our districts are using this platform called Use Science. And if you can flip to the next slide, Use Science is more than just, and this is not a commercial for them, it's just something we believe that needs to go hand in hand. It is more than an interest inventory. It is really an aptitude and an interest inventory that brings things together to say, this is really where you sit with your aptitudes and your interests. I think that we've done a disservice to students over the years by telling them that they can be anything they want to be when they grow up, because theoretically that is true, and I'm certainly not a dream squelcher. But as I've already stated, Ohio is one of the least transient states in the nation. But yet, year after year after year, I have kids tell me they want to become a marine biologist, but they don't want to leave Dayton, Ohio. That's going to be really difficult. We don't have a whole lot of marine or aqua life here in Dayton, Ohio. There's a couple rivers that cross, but that's really about it. So preparing our young people to really understand what their strengths are good at, what their interests dream to be, and where those two things meet, that's really the sweet spot. So by using Use Science across the nation, we have also seen a more equitable outlook in who can become what in that future self vision. So I think there's a lot to be said about the report that Use Science has just released. Now, again, no commercial here. I don't care what aptitude and interest, inventory you use. You just need to make sure, in our opinion, that you're using something to really identify the opportunities that kids could have in their future. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. One of the other things that we do here in Montgomery County that we have seen huge gains is, again, providing career or work-based learning experiences as part of that infrastructure, and then putting kids in those classes based on those Use Science results or other aptitude and interest inventories. And so one of the things we've done with our learning centers, and again, I'll just be very quick to explain, if you're not familiar with ESCs, a lot of times the ESC will hold a class either in districts or in a separate facility for students who have exhausted all resources in their home districts. And clearly I have permission to show all of these beautiful faces on my screen. But one of the things they're not usually apt to doing in these programs is providing work-based learning with what we would call weapons in some cases, like hammers and screwdrivers, because sometimes these children have a tendency to have really big challenges controlling and managing their emotions. And so when I first put this idea out there and said, at our separate facility here at the ESC, we're going to put career tech in play, they were like, Shannon, do you think that's really a good idea? Do you really think that that's a thing that we should be doing? And I said, I do, because again, in order to give our most challenged students in the county a future self-vision, they have to actually feel what it's like to have skills and to be able to see themselves in the future. So after about 5 years of really implementing a SEL focus in our learning centers, which is what we call them here in Montgomery County, and our first year at providing a CTE partnership, these are a couple of pictures of very, very impactful moments. The picture on with the multiple students, those are candy dispensers that they made for themselves. And these are our MD population. And one of the other students on the other side in the hat, that is a student who had all kinds of self-regulation issues. And since he has been enrolled in the CTE program, we have not had one singular self-regulation issue while at school. And he was making a sawhorse there that was going to be his own sawhorse that he could then use in future projects. Now, my CTE friends say, yeah, right, this is why we advocate for career tech all over the place. But in most cases, we don't usually think about the career tech skills in combination with social emotional skills being very overt in those two concepts coming together and building future self visions for these students. So I'd like to give you just a couple of stories if I could. I don't have students here with me, but I really, really, really applaud Tommy for bringing students, because we often underestimate and undervalue student voice. But let me just give you a couple of student voices by proxy of Shannon Cox. One of our learning centers, and again, our learning center is part of our business advisory council, but one of our learning centers who started this work-based learning experience sort of infrastructure within the school, we had a student that basically was working with a SEL consultant, and that SEL consultant was talking about future self-vision and really trying to prep kids for what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want that quality of life to look at? What are your opportunities? In a sidebar conversation, the one young man said, "So, Mrs. So-and-so, what did your husband go to jail for?" And it kind of took her back, and she was like, "Go to jail? What do you mean?" And after some conversation and digging, it was very clear that in his family, in his world, the future vision was that there was a rite of passage of becoming adult, and that rite of passage was going to jail for some sort of reason. He had zero idea of what opportunity actually lie ahead for him or could lie ahead for him if he had some work-based learning experiences that were able to give him a skill set that he could call his own. The self and social awareness allowed him to just make better decisions, build relationships with his trusted peers within our ESC. And I can just tell you right now that that student is thriving and definitely has a future self-vision. A couple other real quick stories as we come close to our time together today. We've seen students that have had lack of relationships with any safe adults in their communities. And so they begin to rely on themselves. It's the safest defense that they have. The behaviors then that we typically see that allow them to enter into our programs, that is basically the self-defense to say, I can't let anyone get near me or get close to me, so I'm going to behave a certain way. But what we have seen is that these CTC kids, or these CTE experiences that these kids have been allowed to participate in this year, have allowed them to, the first time in their lives, for many of them, work as a team. The other day, we had 6 young men working on a project for one of our CTE experiences, and the laughter and the joy that were coming from them as they were, having fun while building what they were building was something I wasn't sure that I was ever going to see from these particular individuals, but also more importantly, I think it was joy and laughter that they really hadn't been able to experience before as a network of peers working on a common work-based goal. And last but not least, we have students that really have a hard time setting boundaries for themselves and setting limits for themselves. And oftentimes that is because they have been abused, or they have been, again, in family situations where it's not allowed them to do that. And what we have seen in these CTE experiences in just this first inaugural year is that students understand that working on these work-based learning experiences and within the safety and structure within these classrooms, they're able to actually be self-aware of what their boundaries or lack of boundaries, lack of limits does to their peers, but also how it makes them feel. And that empathy piece that for the first time in many of their cases, they've not been able to really embrace. And we've seen that come full circle for some of these kids where they have been able to embrace it. They have been able to self-regulate. They have been able to self-manage. And it has then allowed them to have positive peer relationships. So I'd be happy to share it. As you can see, I could probably talk about this for like hours on end because we have story after story after story. But the most important thing is that we step back and realize that students can succeed. It's not just about the academic passing of a test, and really where we can bring social emotional learning and work-based competencies together and employability skills together, that's where we're really going to see our future workforce flourish. And if I can do it, if we can do it collectively at the ESC with the most challenged learners, any school district can do. And not every school district has a CTE program in their space, and we understand that and get that. But that's what makes work-based learning experiences in a variety of fashions so very important. So Emily, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tommy and Shannon, and thank you for Michelle helping me out when I could not unmute. Greatly appreciate it. We really appreciate having those stories of the application in the real world. So thank you so much to Michelle, Kayla, Kristen, Tommy, and Shannon. And of course, a special thank you to all of our students who joined and shared their experiences. We don't have time for questions, but please feel free to reach out to the SEL mailbox if you have any questions from today's session. And thank you for joining us. Have a great afternoon.